Gambling is hugely popular. Millions watch people play poker on television, though I would think this is not exciting TV. More than $100 million are bet every day, and that's just in places where it's legal, like Vegas, Atlantic City, and Indian reservations. Much, much more is bet in private games and illegal games. Now and then, authorities crack down on those illegal games.
Hays County says it won't tolerate gambling.
This is a raid in Texas on a truck stop that had some video poker machines. Here's a raid in Illinois.
They marched in like moving men, but only intent on removing video poker machines. At this bar, patrons were left speechless.
Sometimes the police draw their guns.
35. 30.
Yeah. Doing what we're doing, playing poker for money, is legal in our state, but in almost half the states, it's not legal. In most places, if you run a game and take a cut, you could be jailed. In Texas, a VFW post, Veterans for Foreign Wars, ran a poker game, took a cut, and gave the proceeds to charity. They were shocked to find themselves raided by the police.
Here they come to the door with masks and, you know, SWAT gear and guns and everything. We're going, you know, what in the world is going on here, you know?
The millions of people play poker. No one's forced to play. We're all consenting adults. If the cops raid a place like they're rooting out terrorists.
One lady that was crying peed on herself. It got so bad. She, can I go to the bathroom? They wouldn't even let her go to the bathroom.
Now we have no VFW.
So they closed down that VFW chapter. Chad Hills is with Focus on the Family, and you also oppose gambling, but I ask you, what good does it do to crack down on places like this?
Well, there's something interesting, especially about, say, video gambling machines or video bingo machines, like they're trying to get in Alabama, and that is that these machines have been shown to be extremely addictive. In fact, in, I believe it was South Carolina, they removed 36,000 of these machines because they were so highly addictive. So that's a huge concern, primarily for kids especially, because it's hard to keep them away.
I certainly agree there's that downside. Gambling does wreck some people's lives. The media constantly do stories on addicts, and here's a woman complaining about how internet poker left her helpless.
It is too easy. It is too easy. All you do is put your credit card number in.
Big spending cost this former accountant his marriage.
There's a Harvard professor who says it's the crack cocaine of gambling.
That was Senator John Kyle, a politician who's been most eager to ban gambling. He didn't want to join us today, nor would other anti-gambling politicians, which is why we're talking to Chad Hills from Focus on the Family. So, it's like a dangerous drug?
It can be. The form of video gambling, whether it's video poker or video slots, and what John Kyle was talking about has been an attempt by the online poker industry, which is primarily offshore gambling operations.
Because they get locked up if they were here.
Right. Well, to bring that into the United States, to have it legalized, and the big word regulated, that means government gets its hand in the pot, and federal government would tax this form of gambling. So we would in essence have a national casino or a national lottery, if you will.
And that would be bad.
That would be an extremely bad thing, considering that internet gambling is one of the most addictive forms of gambling. We have research from places that have it already, from Canada, you know, Australia, and they're trying to figure out what to do. So our view at Focus on the Family is we're here to strengthen and to defend families against policies that might otherwise damage them, and we've seen that gambling, we call it the ABCs of gambling: addiction, bankruptcy, crime, destruction of families, divorce, domestic abuse, economic destabilization, and increased suicides. These are all things we have research
Actually,
to back.
ABCDES.
Yeah, you can kind of go on. You know, I could probably come up with...
We're joined now by Andy Block. He's a professional poker player. He's won over $4 million in tournaments. You would argue that this crack cocaine of gambling ought to be legal as well as all other forms.
Well, I don't know how it got the name crack cocaine. I mean, it doesn't have a lot at all to do with all that. And I think it was a study about gambling with lots of flashing lights and graphics and things that, you know, that don't go on an online poker site. Now, one thing is, we already have online poker in this country. And the question is, how best to deal with it? Do we want to try prohibition, or do we want to license and regulate it?
Your point is that even though it's illegal, it's going on all the time.
Well,
right?
It's not necessarily illegal either. There's no federal law that says it is illegal to play poker online.
It's illegal to run the business.
It's not illegal to run the business either. The UIGA, which Congress ran through in the middle of the night about 4 or 5 years ago, only said that it said it did not change the existing law on gambling. It didn't say...
But all these guys are in Costa Rica and other places for a reason.
Well, they're all around the country, all around the world. Most of them actually are now based in the UK, and they're licensed by the most stringent licensing jurisdictions in the world.
What about this addictive part he's talking about?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. We're not saying that nobody is addicted to poker, nobody's addicted to gambling. There are small percentage of people that are. But there did a study, the UK Gambling Commission did a study on this after online poker and online casino gaming was introduced in the UK, and they found that there was really no significant increase in the number of problem gamblers in the UK.
Chad, what about that? And also, the fact that it's illegal here doesn't mean it's not happening. This addiction you talked about happens anyway. It drives it underground.
People say this drives gambling underground.
Yeah.
And I'm like, good, drive it underground, because you know what? This piece of the industry requires, they call them fish to feed the sharks.
But the fish find their way underground. It doesn't go away.
But it makes it extremely difficult. You have to be fairly desperate to do it. And does the Coast Guard stop all the drugs coming into Florida? No, but if we didn't have it there, it would certainly be a much different story. You know.
So they're adults. So what?
Well, here's the situation. We have about 15 million Americans in the U.S. right now. You could fill an average NFL stadium to capacity.
15 million who what?
Problem and pathological gamblers. This comes from a study out of 1999. Many counselors say it's closer to 20 today.
But I have the study here.
National Gambling Impact Study?
Yeah.
Page 4.1.
It says 2.5 million are pathological gamblers. More than 15 million were identified and at risk. That just meant that they gamble a lot and they might get in trouble. It's small percentage of people.
4.1 there? Page 4.1 gives you the actual breakdown of the...
It's 4.5. It's even more broken down.
No, but they run through there. And here it is right here. 7.5 million American adult problem and pathological gamblers. Okay, and 7.9 million American adolescent problem and pathological gamblers. Add those together, that's 15 million.
But that includes people who might get in trouble, the adolescents. Kids try things and give them up if they lose money. Let me give you the last word, since he's talked a lot.
Well, if you've ever looked at some of these studies, you look at the list of 10 different things, and they say if you can check yes to any one of them, then you're a problem gambler. Like, have you ever gambled longer than you thought, or had gone from...
You would legalize everything.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily legalize everything, but, 99% of the American public has no problem with gambling, or no serious problem, and they should have the freedom to go and gamble if they want to. If they want to gamble online, there's no casino that's being forced into people's homes. People have to go online if they want to get that, and go to the sites, and they can welcome in the casino if they want to play. There's 1% of people who may be pathological gamblers and have real problems, and we need to help those people, and I'm on your side with that, and I think the best way is to license and regulate, bring these sites together so that we can go and attack the problem of problem gambling instead of...
Bizarrely, the one powerful politician who takes Andy and my libertarian side on this is Barney Frank, who I think of as a big government guy, but he's criticized gambling laws.